cold and blowing snow. It's blowing all over the place out here. The worst is yet to come.
March 13th, 1993, New York City. Over a foot of snow. Winds tearing through Manhattan streets at 70 miles per hour. Record-breaking cold.
A blackout. We don't have any heat, any hot water. We can't cook, and our food's going bad.
Every airport on the East Coast is closed at the same time for the first time in history. Over 300 people lost their lives across multiple states. Nearly 50 sailors lost at sea, and none of it started with snow. Meteorologists had seen a lot of storms, but when they looked at what was building in the Gulf of Mexico, they could only call it one thing: the storm of the century. This is how it unfolded. To understand what happened on March 13th, 1993, you have to go back 5 days. And you have to understand something about how weather works over North America in early spring. March is the cruelest month for weather forecasters in the eastern United States. Winter is not done. Spring has not arrived. The jet stream, essentially a river of fast-moving air high in the atmosphere that dictates where storms go and how strong they get, is still positioned far enough south to tap into cold Arctic air from Canada. But at the same time, the Gulf of Mexico is already warming. The contrast between these two air masses, the bitterly cold air to the north and the warm, humid air to the south, is exactly the fuel that the most violent winter storms run on. And in March of 1993, all of it came together at once. In early March 1993, forecasters at the National Weather Service began to notice something that made them deeply uncomfortable. The computer models, mathematical predictions of the future atmosphere, were showing a pattern developing over the Gulf of Mexico that, if it verified, would be unlike anything the modern East Coast had experienced. The models showed 3 separate weather systems converging simultaneously: an Arctic blast pushing down from Canada, a warm, moist air mass rising from the Gulf, and a powerful trough, a dip in the jet stream, that would act as the engine driving the whole system northward along the eastern seaboard. By March 8th, 5 days before the storm, forecasters were confident enough to begin issuing extraordinary warnings. This was itself historic. Meteorologist Louis Uccellini, who would later become director of the National Weather Service, described the forecasting of this storm as a defining moment, the first time that computer models had reliably predicted a historic, category-level storm far enough in advance for the public to actually prepare. States declared states of emergency before a single snowflake fell. The New York Thruway Authority announced it was closing the Thruway in advance.
It is closed from Rochester to Harriman. That's the New York State Thruway.
Governor Mario Cuomo declared a state of emergency for New York before the snow arrived. The warnings were there, they were accurate, and for once, they were early. On the evening of Friday, March 12th, 1993, a complex of violent thunderstorms explodes over the northwestern Gulf of Mexico. This is the storm's first act, and it has nothing to do with snow. That comes later. A powerful squall line tears across Florida in the early morning hours of March 13th. Wind gusts exceed 100 miles per hour across the state. 11 tornadoes touch down. A 12-foot storm surge crashes ashore along Florida's west coast in Taylor County alone, sending walls of water through coastal communities before most residents are even awake.
Kids were sleeping, and my husband says, "Get them out of here now." And we couldn't even get out because the wind was blowing so hard we couldn't even get the door open.
All of a sudden, everything just came in, caved in. The walls, both sides fell through, the window fell through.
The coast is already in chaos, but beyond the reach of rescue, in the black waters of the Gulf, the storm is turning deadly.